Hello out there in Tuba land. My name is Gary Poffenbarger. I'm the assistant professor of tuba and euphonium at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I've been here for this is starting my 5th year. Before that, I was a band director for about 2 years. And before that, for 24 years, I was the principal tubist at the United States Air Force Academy Band in Colorado Springs. And it's great to be here to share my thoughts on Blahzevich 14. So, before we get started and get too deep into it, if you have any questions for me based on anything I have to say today, or you just have questions in general about anything tuba-wise or whatever, feel free to email me at gary.poffenbarger. That's Poffenbarger at utsa.edu, or look me up on Facebook. Again, Gary and Poffenbarger. So, again, feel free to ask me questions about anything you're curious about at all, or just whatever you'd like to ask. I'll do my best to get back to you on that. So, first of all, congratulations to you, and good for you for being bold enough and brave enough to put yourself out there and join the Texas Tuba competition. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm excited to be asked to be a judge. And good luck to you, and a great opportunity for you to grow and learn more about your instrument. And that's how we all get better, is competition. We all have to do that if you want to go farther in pretty much any line of work, but especially in the music business. And whether you know it or not now, the tuba business is a very competitive business. So I've been lucky enough to have been able to make my living as a tuba player my entire adult life. And so here I am today, many years later, with the opportunity to share some knowledge with you today about the tuba and how you can get better at that, and how you can have a good career, a long productive career as a musician, and if that is something that is inspirational and exciting to you. And it's a lot of hard work, admittedly, but it's well worth it. Well worth it, because the arts are important, especially now more than ever. Coming out of this pandemic time, I think we're going to see lots of music. People have a desire to hear live music, especially, and I'm just a huge fan. I'm a brass quintet junkie. I've done a lot of brass quintet playing in my life. At Boston University many years ago, when I got my master's degree, I studied with Sam Palafian, arguably the best brass quintet tuba player ever, and that was a true joy, and I learned so much during that time. So, and that is he got me excited about playing the tuba and doing this for a living, and I've been doing it ever since. So, and now I get to pass that amazing information on to the next generation of great tuba players that are coming up. So, we're going to start with just the basics here. I'm not gonna necessarily. I'm gonna play some, but I'm not gonna play a lot for you this evening. You can look up this. We're talking about Blahzevich 14 in this case, so you can look up recordings of that. There's a great David Zirkle. He kind of recorded them all. He did a thing called the Tuba A2 project back in 2009. So you can look that up, and he plays through the whole thing. He does a really great job of doing that. So I'm not going to play through the whole piece for you. You can do that on your own. I just don't think that's the necessarily best constructive use of our time. But I think that's kind of just a good reference point to start with. But as far as you as a tuba player, the best thing you do, especially for during the summertime when you're out of band and you're probably just hanging out at home, If you're like, I have a son that is around your age, he's about to be a high schooler. He plays trombone, but he's about to go into high school now, and he's been to some camps, and he's done a lot of fun stuff this summer. He loves to play video games and all things like that, and so there's plenty of things these days that can take up all your time. And I'm not saying you have to, especially at your age, live your life behind a tuba at all. I think all of us professionals, all the people that have done well in the music business at some point did that, but at your age, have fun, live your life, do lots of fun things, have lots of adventures. But if you can, especially during the summer, it's a great time to get some discipline and to still pick up your horn and play some stuff and to learn a lot, and the people that do that, especially over this pandemic time, but even more especially during the summer, that's the people that come back that have played even just a little bit or have gone to a band camp or have done some, whatever kind of, taken some lessons or whatever over the summer. They're going to come back way ahead of the folks that didn't. Because as you know, we're training muscles. I lived my life for 20 years in Colorado Springs, where the Olympic Training Center is. And those folks, we're about to go into the Summer Olympics, right? And those folks spend their life training to do a specific thing and to train their muscles to be better than anybody else in the world at this specific thing. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. We're training our mind and our muscles to make this beautiful art we call music, and your chosen instrument just happens to be tuba, like mine, and there's amazing things that you can do with it, with some discipline and some dedication and just good fundamental progress. So I have this thing that I created, again, based off of what Sam taught me years ago. He has those, I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you haven't, he has two great books that are still out there. One is called The Breathing Gym, which goes through all great fundamental breathing exercises, which you probably have already learned. If you haven't, I encourage you to look that up and get it. It's called The Breathing Gym. And then kind of the sequel, which goes through a really great warm-up process from really simple stuff to really advanced stuff, is called The Brass Gym. Again, both two great books. I have kind of a variation of that I've developed over the years. And it's just, I use that as part of it, but it's also a little bit expanded. I call it the 6 things that you need to be doing every day. And it's really not just a warm-up. If you can do it as a warm-up, that's great, but it's really more of a routine where we go through it. I encourage all my students to go through it every day. And I'll give you those 6 things really quickly. First is breathing exercises. Again, that's the breathing gym, right? Second is mouthpiece buzzing. Nothing in my playing career and in my life has improved and in my experience as a teacher, has improved my students faster and me faster as a player, faster than doing buzzing exercises. Getting really good. Everything you can play on the tuba, you should be able to buzz on the mouthpiece. And even backing it up and keeping it simpler than that, you should be able to sing, right? So it's a sing, buzz, play thing. Again, you probably have heard some of this stuff before. I'm just re-emphasizing it and reiterating it for those that it's a repeat. And just like, we used to say in the military, it's a foot stomp. You make sure you know this stuff. So sing, buzz, play is really important. So we have breathing exercises. We have buzzing, mouthpiece buzzing. Then we have long tones, right? Just any kind of long tones. Again, you can get all this. I have my own version of this that I do. Some of it's out of the brass gym, but all this is in there. Long tones, flexibility exercises. Again, being able to move around on the horn really well. Tonguing exercises, and range. And that's in order of importance. So if you do all that every day, it's probably going to take you, at least a half an hour. If you really are fairly thorough about it, it can take a lot longer than that. But we do those in order, and that's kind of in order of importance too. So the breathing exercises are the most important. That's how we create our sound, especially as tuba players. we have to be really efficient and really great at using our air control to make beautiful sounds, right? That's how we create that sound. So breathing exercises. Then the next most important thing is the buzzing exercises. Then long tones, flexibility, tonguing, and range in order of importance. So if you have to leave something off, you leave it off at the end. You don't, but ideally you do them all those 6 things every day. So, and again, it's really important that you're fairly, at least the more consistent you can be in your practice routine and what for me, I've exercised for most of my adult life because I have the propensity to, honestly, I had to lose over 100 pounds to get in the military years and years ago. So I had to figure out how to get really disciplined and to learn to work out. And if you've ever been to a gym, you see people just wandering around the gym. They don't know what they're doing. And then you see the people that are in there, they have a plan and they're really working out consistently. You got to have a plan. So, and you got to practice and work out and practice on your horn consistently. So at your age, being junior high school players, at least a half an hour a day consistently. Say 7 days a week would be great. There's nothing wrong with taking a day off if you want, day or 2 off a week, but if you can do a half an hour a day, an hour's even better, but at least a half an hour a day, that's better than if you pile it all into, I'm only going to practice once a week and I'm going to do it for 3 hours and then your face falls off. That's not good, right? So it's like when you go to the gym the first time, like when you're in PE at school and you go out and the first day they make you run, and you haven't run all summer. You've been sitting behind your computer playing video games all summer, and then you go out and run that first day and you're sore, right? It doesn't feel good. But slowly, as you do that over time, it gets better. So the more consistent you are, the better it is, and you ease yourself into it, which is great. So you got to have good habits, right? And what I encourage you to do, this is what I'm talking to you about today, is I'm not trying to make you the best tuba player on the planet. I want you to be the best musician, because that's who's going to be successful, not only in this competition, but in the rest of your playing career. So I also encourage you to find a good teacher. So, if you don't take private lessons yet, I would encourage you to find someone as soon as possible to do that. And just talk to your band director, talk to somebody in your local community. There are people out there that would be more than happy to help you. This is Texas. There's a lot of great bands out there, and a lot of you all are probably from those great bands. A lot of you wouldn't be this far, I make up, if you didn't already have a great teacher. But if you don't have one, get one. Get one today, as soon as possible. That's really what's going to help you and give you success in this whole thing. And that teacher, or your band director, whoever, ask them for help, especially doing this recording, because you need some, it doesn't have to be spectacular equipment. I think we're going to work hard at making it not based on who has the fancy equipment and, but we can all tell. All the judges that are in this competition, we can tell who's the best player it is taking out. But you want to have a good recording. You want it to present your best foot forward. So all that's kind of my overview thing. So now we're going to hop into Blahzevich 14. So I approach everything, again, we're learning the language of music here. So I approach everything from the very get-go. I look at this as a sight reading exercise. If you haven't looked at Blahzevich 14 yet, like, what key are we in, right? How do we decide what key we're in? So 2 ways, I would say. The 2 easiest ways, especially if you're a tuba player. Almost always this works. 99.9% of the time it works. So what's the key signature? We look up at the beginning of Blahzevich 14, there's 1 sharp, right? Great. So now we look down at the very last note of the piece, and it's a G. In fact, there's 2 Gs, right? Those octave Gs at the end. So we put those 2 things together, we're in the key of G major. Great. So That's my first thing to encourage you to do. Get really good at the G major scale. Be able to play a great, beautiful sounding G major scale. That's going to be a great start for you. Then we look at what's next. Okay, so we got the key signature now. Now we're looking at the time signature. We're in 3/8, right? What do those two numbers mean, right? I bet you already know this because I would be willing to bet you're from great schools with great music band directors and music teachers. So the first number, the top number means there's 3 beats in a measure, right? Because it's a 3. So there's 3. It could be 3/4. In this case, it's 3/8. So there's 3 beats in a measure. Now, what does the bottom number mean? It's an 8. So in this case, it means the 8th note gets the beat, right? That's why there's an 8. If it was a 4, the quarter note would get the beat, 2, a half note, so on and so forth, right? So if we're in 3, that automatically leads me to know that it's kind of a waltz feel. Boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick. All right, so great. So that's helpful. That's a good, So then start to look at how you all probably have done sight reading when you do your competitions at school every year. So just get into that mindset, because one of the best things I think that's important for you to be, how I can tell if you're a good tuba player or not is how well you can sight read something for the first time. Because lots of people can work on something and play it, eventually get a great recording. But the people that can sight read are the people that do the best long term, So anyways, that's what I encourage you to do, is get really good at sight reading. So now we're learning, again, we're learning the language of music. So we need to know what all the stuff on this page means. So we start with, again, the language of music. So what's in that top left corner? We always start with there. Allegretto con garbo. Well, that's a weird one, okay? Allegretto means, what does that mean? It means moderately fast, but it's less than allegro. So, okay, that's arbitrary, but that's a tempo marking. So that's one of those moderate kind of, we're not into the fast stuff. So it kind of becomes between moderato, moderately, right? And allegro. Allegro moderato is, even in between there, so it kind of goes moderato, allegretto, allegro moderato, and then allegro, and then in faster and faster, and then on the other end, slower and slower. So that, in a general sense, not hard and fast rules, but in a general sense, that kind of means, 100 to 128 beats a minute. So, boom, chick, chick, boom. Right? Again, you're a musician, so you need to be able to look at that page and hear those notes jumping off the page and hear what they sound like before you even play it. Can you do that? I bet you can if you work at it. So I would never get paid to sing, but I'm trying to work at getting better and better at my singing, because what I hear in my head is the world's best tuba player playing this piece. And that's what's going to come out the instrument. Okay, so allegretto con garbo, right? So what does con garbo mean? Con means with. A lot of these terms are in Italian, right? So con means with, and then garbo means gracefully. Now, coincidentally, we look underneath that first line, and it says grazioso. Grazioso. What does grazioso mean? Gracefully. So those two things match up. Now, other than that, there's not a lot on this page. We got a crescendo about, 5 lines down, and then we're kind of left with not a lot. We've got 2 dynamics in the whole piece. They're both piano. Okay, that's not nearly enough, right? That's not nearly enough. So what I encourage you to do is to use your entire dynamic range in literally, when you're doing these recordings, me as a judge, I would like to hear your entire dynamic range during this piece. Now, I often talk about a volume knob, right? So 0 is off, right? That's your resting. I can't hear you at all. 10 is with your best sound. Again, not ugly, not bright, not, blatty. Your best sound, but loud. Fortissimo or plus plus. Fortissimo, loud. Pianissimo is 1. 5 is kind of mezzo forte. And then we want everything in between. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I would like you to go through this piece and give me that entire dynamic range. So almost everything, and again, we're either getting louder or we're getting softer. We're either going towards something or we're moving away from something. So in this entire piece, I want to hear peaks and valleys. Now the simple version is if it gets higher, play louder. If it gets softer, play lower. You can do that for the entire piece, and that'd be really quick. You just kind of mark, okay, this is loud. And in this piece, like I said, I want to hear your entire dynamic range. So where in this piece is the softest, and then where in this piece is the loudest. Just decide that and write, whenever I beat up my students all the time. Like if they come in with, I'm looking at the music here on my iPad, and if they come in with their music and they've been working on it for however long, and there's nothing marked on the page, they haven't done the work. They haven't figured out what they, because again, we're taking this blank sheet of paper and making art out of it. So I want you to exaggerate everything and make this beautiful piece of art out of it. And to do that, especially in a recording, it's a little easier if it's live, but even live, we want to exaggerate everything. We want everything to just be over the top. So the softs have to be really soft. Again, with your best sound as soft as you can play. With the fortissimos as loud as you can play. All that. And again, okay, so now let's talk about, so we talked about dynamics. Let's talk about articulations. We got a couple at the very beginning, and then there's just none. After the second line, nothing really, right? There's that one housetop accent on the third line, then nothing. Then a couple staccatos, third line from the end, then nothing. So there's not enough, right? So in general, go through, and you can, again, most of the time you want to, this has got to be graceful, right? How do we play graceful? By playing light. I know we play the tuba, but it's got to sound like we're waltzing, and we're just having this beautiful, great, so let me give you a quick example of that. Hear what I did? And almost every time, again, what's indicative of a waltz, what makes a waltz sound like a waltz is boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick, boom. We got to be able to dance to it. And again, I know we're tuba players, so people don't think they can dance to us, but they absolutely can. So you need to do a great job of being as graceful and light on your feet, and just think, like, say, look up some dancing, look up some waltzing on YouTube, and go, okay, I'm going to make my waltz sound like those people waltzing, especially a Renaissance or old school waltz, or look up Dancing with the Stars and find a waltz or whatever. Again, we're artists. We're not just tuba players. We're not just musicians. We're artists. So we're telling a story. We're telling our audience exactly what we're trying to give them an emotion, make them feel an emotion. So I hope that all makes sense. So now we've gone through kind of the fundamentals of all this. So again, I'm going to kind of wrap this up a little bit. We talked about having good fundamentals, right? The 6 things: breathing, buzzing, long tones, flexibility, tonguing, and range. All those things come into you becoming a great tuba player. We talked about the language of music. You learning everything that's on this page. You are learning a foreign language to you. It is a foreign language to most of the population, because most of the population can't even read music, and you can already. So you're ahead of people. This is an absolute language. So you need to learn everything that's on that page. If there's a word, if there's an articulation, If there's anything on the page, you need to understand what that means. And that's how you create your art. And that's what you're doing, is creating art. So we talked about you need to add dynamics, big dynamics, be creative, and articulations. And that all goes into this puzzle, this beautiful creative piece of art that you're going to make. And I want you to, again, I don't want you, when you listen to a recording of this or hear somebody else play it, I want you to do something completely different. I want you to do something that is unusual and make it your own, because this is you're the artist. You are, I'm not going to tell you everything to do, because I don't want you to do it like I would do it. I want you to do it how you would do it. And that's even better, because you're the creative genius behind this competition, So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or look me up on Facebook and send me a message. I want to wish you all good luck. I know you're going to do great. I look forward to hearing from you and hearing you play, and we'll talk more as we move through this competition. Good luck and take care.